Morning, friends. Just in case if you don't know my name is Chandrakant, and I talk to you every day in the morning, first thing in the morning, regarding the pressing business issue. And just in case, just to start the discussion, there is a lot of changes happening in the way we do business. There is a lot of fragmentation. There are a lot of decentralization, deglobalization. I think this is a norm today, and we will discuss about this in our discussion today. Just in case if you want to join this live stream with your mic and camera, you can. And process for joining the live stream is given in the description below. So don't look any further. All lines are open. I'm waiting for you to host you on this live stream. All right, let's proceed further. You see, what is happening is that there are triangle which is emerging, which is the Indo-US, India, China, and China-US. These are the top three nations which are shaping the way world function today when it comes to business. The fight is about the supremacy, because there were supreme leader, which is United States of America. Now that USA has been taken over by China, simply because China has built their supply chain very resilient, very strong supply chain, and USA being the prime consumer for their products, for their raw material as well as the finished goods. If you go to US, you visit any outlet, you will see made in China. So China is very actively entrenched in the US consumer market, and because of that, the US economy is largely intertwined with the Chinese economy, because US is a large country. US is definitely a one of the large countries, not as big as India, but definitely a large country. EU is a different beast. It's also large, as big as United States of America when it comes to consumer, when it comes to consumer market and population, etc. So China being a very populous country, they were able to build their supply chain in such a way that a lot of people got involved in production activities, and they did it beautifully, starting from the communist era in the 90s, when the economy oversaw that the changes happen. So they started building not quality products, but building in large quantities, and then they started supply chain from village level to the city level, and then from shipping, everything was very fine choreographed, and gradually they actually started becoming hub for all kinds of manufacturing. So today what is happening is that most of the American corporations, whether it comes to t-shirts or it comes to heavy engineering items, they are all manufactured in China. China is also home of a lot of raw material, because it's a large country. There are a lot of resources in China. There is mining facility. So some of these resources, like rare earth elements, which are the backbone of our computer industry, are also produced by China, mined by China, shipped by China. So I think this is where the Chinese were able to, until 2010, they were able to basically monopolize the entire market. After 2010, they started getting into the financial market. And if you look at some of the Western countries, they are under debt, the Chinese debt. So slowly, gradually, China was able to increase their influence on the global economy. We are not talking anything politics, but we are only restricting ourselves to the economy part. For whatever reason, India political system was also controlled in directly or indirectly to ensure, because Chinese rulers knew that India has a potential to knock them off from number one position. So they ensured that the political system is in their pocket, and because of that, India was also becoming dependent on the Chinese goods which are flowing into the India. So even simple things like something like which is 10 rupees, like 10 cents, was also coming from China. So fortunately the government changed, and then they stopped doing that, and today some of the Chinese companies are not allowed in India, including the financial companies. the government has gone behind these Chinese loan sharking companies and shut them out. Even the entertainment companies like TikTok, uh, which has the potential to grow financially, were also not allowed in India. So India has taken a corrective measure to ensure that there is no monopoly of China. Now the Americans are taking the corrective measures, although it is a lot difficult for them. It was difficult for India to take corrective measures, but it was lot difficult for Americans. It is definitely lot difficult for Americans because they have allowed for past 3 decades all the Chinese dependency onto their business. But now they want to get out of that. So it will take another 2 decades by the time the Chinese were able to if they commit some mistake, they will erode their supply chain. So I think there is a very strong supply chain from China to the rest of the world. And when we say rest of the world, there are only 4 pockets which matters, which decides everything in our global economy, which is the India, China, EU, and America, which is North America. It's primarily USA. So all the economy is driven around the Indian Ocean, from China to rest of the world, from Indian Ocean and back and forth. So this has become a very busy sea route to transport the goods and also transport the oil, petroleum back to China, because China does not have, unfortunately, China does not have any oil reserves under their soil. So they have to import the oil in order to, make sure that their industry is working day and night and producing, and making sure that supply chain is also built up and it stays where it is. So there is a lot of trade happening between Middle East, China. So this Indian Ocean route is one of the busiest route in the world today. The second one is between Europe and America, but that is also pretty big. These two sea routes are very, very busy transporting goods from here and there. What is happening because of this new triangle which is emerging? The equations are being changed, because if you are in India and if you want to start a commodities business, logically there are 2 choices. One is you can start manufacturing them, but then manufacturing the commodities will take time. You need to set up. There was an initial capital investment, but then you will actually end up spending money. But then the gestation period for making money will be like at least 2 to 3 years from the start. Or the second one is, don't start manufacturing, just get it from China, and all you have to do is get it at low cost. Quality could be an issue, so you need to basically look at the checks and balances about the quality. Get them from China, pay the import duty, and then create your sales distribution channel within India. So some people actually started manufacturing, but then they were phased out because they were nationalist and they didn't want to import from China. So the thought process basically mattered, but then they could not compete with the pricing, the cost of manufacturing, because obviously Chinese cost is ridiculously very, very low. So if you get the product and if you are able to maintain the quality, that means you should have a quality control here in India, because the cost of procurement is so low, you can discard. There is no returning in China, so you can discard them here and still make profit. So there has to be a system like that. So companies started working on that. However, that is not the right way to do it, because if you have this trained skill within India, then you could actually compete with China and create your alternate supply chain, because India is also a country which is very, very rich in natural resources, just like China, and also have a lot of skilled professionals. Fortunately, India also has the globalization, because India is a democracy, so it is affected by the globalization. China is very strictly controlled. It's a regime which is communist regime. People don't have freedom, what you get here in democracy. So there were pros and cons, but because of whatever reason, India was sort of lagged behind in building a supply chain. Now this whole thing is changing because of this triangular, um, you know, push and pull happening between these three large pockets of humanity, which is India, China, and America. Lot of changes are happening in geopolitical scenario, and that will forever change the way we do business, at least for next century. uh, so India is emerging as a major destination for making products within India, and it's going to compete with China. And America is now shifting gear. They want to, similar to India, they want to ban some of these Chinese financial products, loan sharking companies, and also TikTok and all that. There's a lot of conversation going on. President Biden has signed an sort of a in their Senate signed an agreement where he is instructing his government to put sanctions on China, and also bringing up the Tibet issue, because Tibet was invaded by China, and the America wants to take a lead now to recognize Tibet as a sovereign nation, separate nation other than China. And using the land of Tibet, Chinese have started attacking the Indian, and they have started getting into the Indian borders also. So India is retaliating. So all of these push and pull are happening, but I'm not saying that the world will go on war, because that is the last thing that world can afford at this point in time. And this war is going to be huge, because you can imagine if that war happens, it's between India, China, and America, which is like 70% of the population. It will be much, much bigger than the Second World War. So I don't think anybody is looking at that option. It's going to be a controlled reaction. There could be skirmishes here and there in South China Sea, some skirmishes, rocket being fired between India, Japan on China, and vice versa. Taiwan could become a big issue. Taiwan handles the entire chip manufacturing industry today. So there is a lot of differences between China and Taiwan. So all of this is emerging. They are being fueled by America and India, and also China is also, I think from the China point of view, this triangle is very, very important from the China point of view. They want to retain their supremacy on this global trade. But America and India would also like to get a pie of that. So they are increasing their influence, especially in the Southeast Asia region, which is India is actually trying to become the global leader in the global South, which is anything south of India up to Australia. There are new agreements being signed. There are global agreements being signed. The ease of doing business. All of these things are being brought up by the Indian government to ensure that a lot of business shift their focus from China to India. But in the end, this will not happen until unless your cost of production reduces, because China has been able to reduce the cost of production so drastically that any business, when they are trying to do any trade, then the cost matters. So therefore, this new equation is going to change everything. And if you are in India, then you are looking at certain things which are affected globally. Especially, there is a lot of export business happening in India, and the government of India also want the Make It in India initiative, which is that means you bring your business, we will manufacture and supply it back to you, because we have the resources, we have the skill sets, we have the place, and government is also willing to reduce the taxes for all these investments which are happening from outside India. So all of these things are happening. So if you are an Indian merchant, there are good things that can happen to you if you are watching. If you are watching the signs, you can set up manufacturing. In fact, the impetus by the Indian government is not about manufacturing. Now, similar thing is happening in America, where the Americans are going away from globalization. Earlier, there was a globalization. That means you interact with others and freely do trade. But now it is being retracted to localization. Just like India, we don't want to import from outside. other countries, we want to manufacture our own. So imagine if there are defense deals, but now most of the products are being manufactured in India. That supply chain for other countries is drying up because India is now manufacturing their defense, because defense contracts are very, very large. A huge chunk of business is coming back to India. Same thing is happening in America, where a lot of this localization is going. People are saying that local businesses must be employed, you must employ Americans. So, those kind of things are happening. So, friends, this is something which is happening today, and I thought I will, discuss with you openly, because recently, in fact, as yesterday only, President Biden has signed an agreement which will limit influence of China on the America, and gradually, all the world power will team up. Probably all the US allies, the traditional allies like Australia, UK, they will team up and they start following Canada. They start following this trend where China wants to basically ensure. At the same time, China wants to ensure that they don't get out of this supply chain. So, friend, this is going to change very quickly next couple of years. So, if you are in India, please watch out the opportunities, export opportunities, because the market is opening up, new opportunities are coming, and therefore there is a lot of impetus given on the local businesses in India. You can participate in this new regime which is going to come up, a new supply chain which is going to come up in next couple of days. So friends, thanks very much for joining me live. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to revert back, and I will take up your question in the next one. So for today, I like to say goodbye, only to catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.